In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. So, mashallah, with the blessing of God, I'm here to do another Quran study, continuing with Surah number 8, verse number 35. I seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. The contact prayer Salat existed before the Quran. Their contact prayer Salat at the shrine Kaaba were no more than a mockery and a means of repelling the people by crowding them out. Therefore suffer the retribution for your disbelief. And the footnote says that all religious practices in Islam came to us through Abraham. When the Quran was revealed, all rites in submission were already in existence, and you can see that in 2173 and 2278, and also many other places we can understand that it existed before the Quran. It came from Prophet Abraham. If we go to just this part, 2173, let's go to this part, and right here 2172, sorry, this thing is moving. 2172, and we granted him Isaac and Jacob as a gift, and we made both of them righteous. So here 2273, but if we start from the one verse before that, which is 72, and we clearly see that talking about Isaac and Jacob, and then we go and read verse 73, and the heading is Abraham delivered all religious duties of Islam. We made them imams who guided in accordance with our commandments, and we taught them how to work righteousness and how to observe contact prayer Salat and the obligatory charity zakat. To us they were devoted to worshippers. And so those who think that it came with the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad, then we are clearly, we should ask question. If someone were to tell us, no, it came from Prophet Muhammad, that the incident that is mentioned, the Miraj, he went back and forth. Moses will tell him that go back and reduce the numbers. The numbers were like they were talking about, it was giving through that from that Miraj incident. Then one should raise a question, then why all these places mention that it was given to Abraham? Then why are we injecting this part in the Quran, in the religion? That's why God has made the religion very clear and simple, and God has mentioned it many places. So those who follow what the Quran says, they are able to see the reality. Those who reject and hold on to other sources, then they are barred from seeing the truth. The eyes and the ears and all those things that they closes, and they cannot see the reality because they rejected it. That's why God adorned the works in your eyes, and then people will be like following, but because we have rejected the clear verses that tells us that came from Abraham. Very, very straightforward. And even in this verse 73, it has a footnote, and it mentions these verses 21 2 128, 16 123, and 2278, which is the same as this one. And Surah 6 towards the end also God talks about Abraham, so we can look into that also. So generally people raise a question that where Salat is mentioned in the Quran, and we have to go to other sources. How do we perform the Salats? For that question, that is why God is telling us that that we know that all the duties come from Abraham. So he already delivered the duties, how to practice Salat, and what Salat, all those things were given through Abraham, and it should continue following that point. And this is how things work. Suppose this is the day of judgment, and this is where the duties were delivered by Abraham. What happens Do we think, did we forget Satan is our ardent enemy? Do we think nothing will happen? How naive would be he would be. Like, are we living in a la la land that nothing bad will happen? The things will happen. God is already warning us. So what happened over the years before? That's, for example, this is the time when Quran came. Okay, all these times, was Salat was changed so much that right here, this is the time of the Quran. It was changed to where no more than a mockery and means of repelling people by crowding them out. Therefore, suffer the retribution for those. So their contact prayer was already changed by that time. So it existed. The verse 35 in itself says it existed, but it was changed beyond recognition, probably. That it's not the nowhere same as Abraham delivered. They have changed it by Satan is inflecting us. So it was repelling people, crowding them out. One place it says a clapping hand or something, singing or whatever, something like that is mentioned. But if you look at today, the contact prayer has been made so difficult that I remember we used to do 6 unit in Fajr, and normally we used to do 2 Sunnah, 2 in first, but then 2 extra units were added before even to Sunnah, that if you go to the mosque you have to do 2 extra units because that was somewhere written that Prophet would do it. But where did it come from? Are we 100% sure? We want to obey God. We don't want to take any source where there's a question mark on it. We want to be absolutely sure this came from God. So, and Isha prayer has like 17 units. So in the same way, it is made so difficult that it becomes a repelling point for people. For us, we used to practice traditional religion, and it was a repelling factor for me, especially, that it's so long, why do it? And when we do only 4 unit, and then we were told it's no use, so we just say, okay, then 17 is a lot. And it's so difficult that we didn't do it. Now we just do 2 Fajr, 4, 3, 4, and it doesn't take too long. We do a Isha in 5 minutes, we're done. And we have added names in it where God uses the word for Salat al-Zikri, that to commemorate God only. The minute we mention anybody else's name in our Salat, in our Azan, then isn't that adding somebody else in the prayer? So all these things are made crystal clear, that yet someone still rejected. Then what happens is, after a while, the works has been adorned in our eyes, and we're unable to see it anymore beyond that point. When we choose to reject God's message after understanding, we choose to follow whatever is given to us. We don't care. This was given to us, we're going to follow it. And that's what has been mentioned in the Quran throughout different messengers and prophet. What was their response? This is what we saw our parents do it. That's what we're going to do. Where God has clearly explained. Another one, God willing, I want to mention an important point right here is that for Sawab. This is also where we were told that we're doing Salat for Sawab. For good deeds. Sawab is good deed. So there's good points. I mean, we are doing good work. We are accumulating good points. I'm not going against it, but Salat is a gift. The main important reason is we see Salat is contacting God to guide us in the right path. We are connecting with God. It's a source, and it's one of the biggest meal for our soul. But where did we get that in congregation 25 times? There's nowhere in the Quran it's mentioned. Where do we see that in Kaaba? It's 100,000 times. 100,000. I put extra zero here or something, but it's something like 100,000 times. So if somebody were to pray contact prayer at home, they only get one time good sawab or whatever. But if you go to the mosque, then it's 25 times when you go to the Kaaba. So think about it. If somebody doing the contact prayer at home, they're not able to go to the Kaaba, and 635 times, that's 125 prayers a day. So in 1 year, a person who never was able to go to the Kaaba, he only get 125 times the sawab. And the person lives 70 years. First 10 years is subtracted. So let's take 60 active years, 60 times 125. This poor person, the whole life, he will get, if he did every contact prayer, 109. This is somewhere roughly equal to somebody who lived or has gone there, and just one contact prayer would be equal to, what kind of justice would that be, that on the day of judgment, this person, suppose, who lived in Kaaba or was able to go there frequently or have done many, and this person is in like, his contact prayers in like millions or billions numbers, and this person hasn't even, is barely reached the 100,000 mark. Something to ponder about. Why we accept whatever is given to us? Why don't we question the logic? A lot of things clashes with our logic when we read something other than Quran. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Why this and why that? But we accept it. I mean, for one thing, to accept it is what is the proof? That's the thing. 36, spending their money to fight God. Those who disbelieve spend their money to repel others from the way of God. They will spend it, then it will turn into sorrow and remorse for them. Ultimately, they will be defeated, and all disbelievers will be summoned to hell. And the footnote says the idol-worshipping leaders of corrupted Islam, Saudi Arabia, have allocated huge sums of money annually to fight God and His miracle. For example, the famous Lebanese publisher Dãr Al Ilm Lil-Malãyîn, Knowledge for the Millions, published the Arabic version of the Miracle of the Quran in March 1983. The Saudis bought all the copies and destroyed them. So we clearly see this verse was written in the Quran 1400 years ago. Those who disbelieved. We literally disbelieve in Quran when we say that, how we do this, how we do that. That the contact prayer, one of the objection is, how come it's not mentioned in the Quran? Well, the first step of the contact prayer is mentioned, which is the wudu, that you have to be in wudu. So if you reject the first step, then we are barred to see how to do the contact prayer in the Quran. We're barred to understand how to do the contact prayer. All those things are blocked because we missed the first step. It's like your boss tell you that, you got to do this stuff, and if you didn't understand or whatever the reason is, if the first step was mentioned and you didn't even do it, and the rest is you get information from somewhere else, well, the boss is going to say, well, you didn't even do the first step. How could we have lead you to the next point? You rejected, which we mentioned in the manual, that this is how you do the first step. So on the day of judgment, what defense would we have when we stand before our Lord, that, my Lord, yeah, you gave me the Quran, but your book was incomplete, which in itself rejects the serious tone of God, where God says that my book is fully detailed, complete and fully detailed, in a serious tone. If we can understand how God is talking to us, if we rejected that your book was not complete, sir, I'm sorry, your book was not complete, where God is saying my book is complete and fully detailed, and we have made it easy to understand. Your book was completely difficult. We have to go to the source to understand. Some places say that people say that, Well, you cannot understand Quran by itself. You have to go to the Hadith. But well, then God is lying. God says, my book is easy to understand. It's fully detailed and complete. We rejected all those things. These are huge accountability that we have to answer on the day of judgment when we stand before our Lord. A lot of things will be hammered on us on that day, big time. And to be honest with you, when you do what God says, God shows you signs and understanding to see the reality. When we say, okay, my Lord says 4 steps, let me just start with the 4 steps. For now, I'll do whatever the contract has been passed on to me. But I'm going to start from the step 1. I'm going to start from no distinction between the messengers. All messengers are equal to me. I'm going to start with whatever I can understand. Then the gate starts to open to the vision, and God enlightens us to higher and higher level, opens our mind, and we see the light from our eyes, the real eyes that we have, the spiritual eyes. And we see the more things starts opening. Oh, now I understand this verse. Oh, now I understand this verse. We hear and we obey. Oh, now I understand this verse. We hear and we obey. The minute we start objecting, something is simple, then the next door starts closing. The minute we start, if you think about it, you read you take any subject in school or college. As you begin, like for example, physics or math, in the beginning, the formulas are easy. If you reject the simple formula in the beginning, for example, 2 plus 2 is 4. If you reject it, when you go next chapter, it's becoming advanced and advanced, because we didn't accept the first formula. Now, for example, you're doing algebra and where you have to do addition, because you reject the addition formula, we're not going to go anywhere. Every time because addition will be everywhere you see in math. So when we reject the basics in the beginning, no sir, yeah, you say no distinction between messengers, but this is what I've been told and we're going to follow that. We cannot treat all messengers equally or this and that. When we start putting our input, the next door will not open. In a simple term I'm talking about, it will not open. So we will not be able to see the Salat in prayer. God will give us enlighten how is it mentioned. If you literally think about it, how is it mentioned in the Quran? And that's why God created is much like my understanding, the way God designed. God gives reason for other people to bring up their questions. God could have mentioned it. There's the way how God technically designed the Quran, where God gives a disbeliever raise a question, a chance. Otherwise, God would have made the Quran in a way that they will have then everybody will be like have no reason not to obey. But then the logic, the understanding. You tell somebody you got to do this and you got to do it this way and there's no other option, that person will do it. But the way the Quran is designed, it questions our logic. It questions our understanding. That's why you sit down. It's like a meeting going on in your head. Like your head is like a whole bunch of different elements of your head is sitting down and studying the Quran, and you accept it with understanding. The way the Quran is done, it's marvelous book. The way it's designed. Sometimes I question, God could have said that this clearly in this suppose a specific subject. God could have said that subject in a very straightforward way. But why God the way designed it? So it questions us, questions our logic and understanding. At the same time, it provides a disbeliever to raise a question that if you want to object to this, then you have a chance to raise a question. But the matter is, at the same point, the matter is clear and easy to understand. It's a very interesting idea. I don't know how to explain, but it's praise God, the way God has designed it. So here, the people, they spend their money to repel. They will be, and those who spend their money to block the miracle of 19, the message of God from the messenger of the covenant, they will they will have to be accountable in this life and in the hereafter. And those who follow it, because God has given us understanding, brain and eyes and ears. If we don't use those things and just follow, then look here, I understand those who disbelieve. Very interesting. God doesn't leave anything, This is where you start to see, praise God, those who disbelieve. They are spending their money to repel others, right? Those who disbelieve. Then where does this verse end? Ultimately, they will be defeated, and all disbelievers will be summoned on to hell. All disbelievers. Those who disbelieve and stopped, then those who follow. So you cannot say, it's crystal clear in the Quran that those who disbelieve cannot say on the day of judgment, give them the double retribution. They are the one caused us to be in the situation. God says, paraphrasing, they will be given double the retribution. You will be given the double retribution, but you don't understand. Something like that. So 37, God will swift away the bad from the good and then pile the bad on top of each other, all in one pile, then throw it in hell. Such are the losers. I mean, look at the wording that God's telling us, It will swift away bad from the good people, because this is one of the reasons we came to this earth, is that because when we did the mistake in the past life, we already deserved to go to hell. But there were some good people that swift away with all the crowd. And there's other reasons that we understand God's absolute authority and Satan's challenge, and all those things were to be explained to all the creatures of the world, that only God can run the world. Nobody else has the capacity to do anything. So Satan is given a chance to run this world, a small, tiny mote in our galaxy, let alone in our inner universe, along with trillions of galaxies. It's not able to do it. Just a tiny mote. A challenge was given by I think Satan, somehow, if you could put it in that way, and accepted by God. Maybe you can say something like that. That, okay, we'll give you a tiny earth. Show us what you can do. And to show the rest of the creatures that only God can do everything. God can run the communities. In God's kingdom, there's infinite amount, probably we can say. We don't even know the numbers of angels and everything. Angels themselves don't even know how many are they. And God is running all the systems. And he couldn't even run a tiny mote. But anyway, those were the good people. And the wording that God using, pile the bad on top of each other. What image do we get? This verse, then pile the bad on top of each other. You can clearly understand. Very humiliating, insulting kind of situation. I mean, in this world, somebody humiliates us with just one word, calling us a name or something. We get humiliated, we get angry. We burst in like, how dare you say, I was humiliated the way you talked to me over there in the group of people, man. We were sitting there, and then something like when we talked about, in the meeting, the boss says something about you, and you go to the boss, I mean, I understand, but the way you talk to me, you insulted me in front of everybody else. Just imagine on the day of judgment, the sense, the ability, because we have all the senses, right? Jealousy, hatred, and all these things. The sense of to sense the humiliation, that part of our system, it senses, it's active. Okay, the part that senses the humiliation, so it's active. When somebody says something, it triggers. Oh, humiliation is coming. It starts to respond, and causes, hey, this is not right. He's insulted you, this and that, and you take action. Imagine on the day of judgment, this is a serious type of humiliation. The words, just think about it and just imagine in your head what is, I don't want to use the word, but you can think about it. What kind of word, what kind of situation is it? And imagine the sense of humiliation. Some people get humiliated very quickly. They get angry. Some people have they have a lot of patience that fights like humiliation. They have patience that fights the humiliation and expresses it down. It's okay. Don't worry about it. People get angry in religion debates because their sense of humiliation, I am right and this person is wrong, and all the things along the line. But God wants us to be patient. When you dialogue with somebody, when you be a very polite tone and be good in the best manner, something like that, to debate with other people. But when we don't take the other ability that God has given us, this is a sense of humiliation, this is a sense of patience, these are the tools that fight the negative. There's bad tools, bad things, and there are positive tools that God given us. So when something happens and God given us a tool to fight this simulation, it's okay, sit down. Like if you have a meeting in your, like we have meeting at work. So all these elements are sitting: humiliation, jealousy, hatred, all these, and here we are having a discussion. All of a sudden, humiliation person gets up. So this is the system in our head that's going on, that when something triggers, we have, like anger triggers, that person may be mad. God says the believer are expressor of anger. That's the traits of believer, that they suppress their anger. So we have the ability of anger. It's gonna trigger, and then we have to. MashaAllah, we had a person came from another submission community, and then they sat down. This person sat down, and we had a Quran study, and a topic came up, and we, MashaAllah, in our community, we discuss this very politely, understanding each other's point, and we say, okay, my understanding is this, and then we move on. This person was shocked. Says, in my community, even if you say something small that they don't like, somebody else doesn't like, this person will not even talk to you. This person was shocked to see. This is where, when you start fighting, then you are, the other person will have defenses against you. It's no productive anymore after that point. When you start getting angry, when you start calling him, it's going downhill. And this is what Satan's one of the trick. He starts to make wedge between the people. 38, tell those who disbelieve, if they stop, all their past will be forgiven, but if they return, they will incur the same fate as their previous encounters. So God is telling they need to know that it's a gift, that if you stop, we will forgive you whatever you have done in the past. This is how merciful God is, that God forgives. He's a forgiver. There's one verse that's beautiful. God says that if somebody becomes to the point where this is despair, that I have done so many sins, I don't think God will not forgive me. I'm paraphrasing that verse. God said, don't despair, for God forgives all sins. While we are on earth, before our death comes, anything can be forgiven. You have done idol worship all your life. The most gracious will be forgiven. He's the forgiver. But God said, if you return, God is already saying that I will forgive everything what you have done. Then your fate is the same as the previous encounters. You're going to hell. Hell in this world, and hell in the right after death until the day of judgment, and hell after that. It's a hell pure word. You shall fight them to ward off the oppression and to practice your religion devoted to God alone. If they refrain from regression, then God is fully a seer of everything they do. Oppression in this situation is where people are living in a community where they're forced not to do their practice of religion. This is one of the freedom in many countries where religion is a freedom, libertarianism, total freedom, that you want to do whatever you want in religion. You want to worship multiple gods, you want to worship one God. It's a freedom. So in submission, when we worship God alone, and if there's a community is not happy, then we're going to read some verses that are going to come up in the next coming up Quran studies, that were You may make an agreement with them, they violate that agreement. What was that agreement? It was because one of the main thing that we understand is, let us practice our religion, you practice your religion, total freedom. So you have to, in that sense, if somebody doesn't like you doing, oh, we don't like the way you do your contact prayer, like the way in submission we only worship God, we don't mention anybody else's name, we read Surah Ki, we bow down, we do two prostration, one unit is completed. We don't read anything else in the Quran, because contact prayer is, if you read Surah Fatiha, Surah Ki, it's a dialogue with God, a direct. We are contacting. When you contact somebody, you talk to them, right? We're not going to start reading stories of Satan or some other things. It's a straightforward contact prayer. So, and if somebody says, we don't agree with what you this and that, then this is where, suppose there was a community who was not able to do their contact prayer the way they want, so God says you should fight. And if somebody's weak, then you migrate. Only those people are spared, then where they are so weak that they can't even move out of that town or this country to another place, and they're forced to not to practice religion freely. Only those people are spared, because that excuse is not even accepted if you live in a community where you are not allowed to practice religion the way you want it, and you have the means to travel to another place where you can do the religious practice freely. That excuse, you cannot say on that day of judgment, my Lord, I was not able to do my contact prayer the way you want it because I was oppressed. Okay. But then the next question will be raised, were you able to move? Yes, but I was going to leave all my land behind, my house. No, that's not going to be accepted. If you had the means to move, sell your house in a lower price or whatever, you're leaving something behind, go to where you can practice your religion freely, God will bless us in a means where we cannot even imagine. So if this is the case, in this, to practice religion and devote to God alone and refrain from regression, then God is fully everything. So this is where we understand that, to practice religion freely. If you turn away, then you should know that God is your Lord and Master, the best Lord and Master, the best supporter. So God is telling us, so if they turn away, we need to know. You should know. That's it. You should know. Who's telling us? Not somebody who's very intelligent or somebody who's very powerful, this and that. The most gracious Almighty Himself is telling us, you should know. Those who believe and lead a righteous life, those who are fighting for their rights. This person is not saying that, he's saying, let me practice my religion. You can do whatever you want. It is your right to know the truth. These class studies that we do, if anybody wants to listen, it is your right. It's one of the means, one of the channel where the religion is explained or talked about. So it's your right to know that worship God alone, and it's your right to disbelieve it. It's your right to practice whatever that's God's given right by the freedom of free will. Now you in this world, okay, fine, you can practice whatever you want, but everything will be accountable when we go back to God. Everything will be questioned. But right now, and when we are on earth, it's total freedom. So God is saying, don't worry about anything. There, as long if you're oppressed, you fight, God will support you. He's your Lord and your Master, the who says kun, and things starts happening. Fayakun, be, and it is. That's all it takes for God. Best Lord and Master, the best supporter. So if we trust in God, We don't have to worry about anything. All we do is just we hear and we obey my Lord. My Lord is my master. He's my Lord and he's my master. My Lord is the best master, not just Lord and master. Think about that. God is your Lord and master, then God says best Lord. There's no question about it. In reality, we should humble down big time. When God uses these words, my Lord, I know. You know, when somebody tries to support you in this world, the one who you really respect, if this person's trying to tell you something, we've become very humble down. No, sir, don't say that. I understand what you're saying. You don't have to go to that limits to make me explain what you mean. I understand. Like your close friend, your very close relative who have done so much for you and try to comfort you. Don't worry, I'll be there. I'll help you. You want to go to college? I'll help you. I'll do this and that. And I said, no, sir, don't do that too much. You don't have to convince me. You already have done so much for me. You don't have to convince me. I humble down to you. You know, you have done so much. Here, the creator of the whole heaven and earth is telling us, I am your Lord and Master. I'm the best supporter. We should humble down, my Lord. I am so down to earth. The words that you're using. You are so kind. You are so merciful. The word you are using, it literally shatters my heart the way I read it. Of course, I know you are my Lord and Master. There's nothing, the word best is in my understanding is even, you are my Lord and Master. And this is not even a question about best or anything for myself. You are my only Lord and Master. I don't even want to consider best. You are my everything. When you put emotions into the verses, you know, the new door starts opening in reverence to God. Exalt to that level. That's supported. 41, you should know that if you gain any spoils in war, 1/5 shall go to God and the messenger, to be given to the relatives, the orphans, the poor, and the traveling alien. You will do this if you believe in God and in what was revealed to our servant on the day of decision, the day the two armies clashed. God is omnipotent. This is talking about the wartime. The spoils, you know, the swords, the shields, and the horses, and all the stuff that we talk about. Should be divided into fifth equal things, and 1/5 shall go to God and the messenger. And we read in the beginning of the surah that where people ask where does the spoil of war goes, God says that it belongs to God and messenger, and that's in a different sense that everything belongs to God. You are questioning, then we're gonna divide it. So it was everything comes and everything belongs to God, and then it was divided into 5 equal, you know, fares, equal, and then in God and messengers is just one thing. It's God, and that will even be giving to the poor in the community. Those who went to war, they get something, but then the rest of the people that were not able to go to war or poor people, they will be given 1/5 of that. And God said, you will do this if you believe in God. If you believe in God, this has to be done. And if you went to war and you win the war, and for these people that they didn't do this, 1/5, then this will be thrown out of it. So that is so important. When God says, oh, you who believe, do this. Oh, you who believe, don't do this. It's not a joke. It's not option. Because when we don't do it, God says, you will do this. Same way the other, when God says, oh, you believe, do this, you will do this. We cannot put a question mark on that. When we do question mark, we start to argue about that. We are walking a very, we're gonna go off the way, the right path. Right path is a straight path. When you say guide us into the right path, we are on the right path, and we need further guidance until we get to God. and there's a lot of exits coming. So if you're gonna start questioning, if you're gonna go off the pathway, God controls everything and plans for the believers. Recall that you were on this side of the valley while they were on the other side. Then their caravan had to move to a lower ground. Had you planned it in this way, you could not have done it. But God was to carry out a predetermined matter, whereby those who destined to be annihilated were annihilated for an obvious reason, and those who destined to be saved were saved for an obvious reason. God is here omniscient. God controls everything. God is running everything. God controls, and God has a plan. Anything that is in the world is happening is not a chaos or a random effect. Everything is precisely controlled by God. And so they were on one side of the valley, so the two armies are about to clash. But their caravan, God put something in their heart where they thought that in their mind this would be better, but it was controlled by God. God is controlling everything, minds of the disbelievers. Not the part that submit to God alone, that's a free will. But once somebody disbelieves, somebody believes, then God takes over from that point. We choose to be with God or with Satan. After that, God takes over. So for the disbelievers, God took control on their minds and moved them in a situation where they're going to have they thought that they will be more prosperous or more stronger to fight, but it was God's plan. God planned it this way. And if the prophet would have done it, you could not have done that way. But God was to carry out a predetermined manner whereby those who destined to be annihilated were annihilated for an obvious reason, to rejecting God, obvious reason to leave the believers alone by letting them freedom for all those kind of things that we understand. So they were defeated because of that. And those who were destined to be saved were saved for obvious reason. See the words obvious reason. Obvious. It was not a hidden that why this happened or that happened. It was obvious for them why those who were defeated were defeated. It was obvious why they were moved. So they can even, maybe if they had a slight, even a single cell left in their body, that can have a reason to think about, we thought this was a good action. This was our mind, but it backfired on us. It probably obvious reason it was maybe, they understood maybe that we took a decision and it was a bad decision. And those good people, or those believers, took a decision, and that was it. It worked out in their favor. All these things, when you really think about it, when you have a logic and understanding, and then you take an action. Oh, I think I should believe in God. I think they're right. Look at them. We thought we were right. All these things are to, make people think that, maybe they can come back to the right path. All these things are happening for a reason. God's trying to guide. God could have annihilated all of them in one shot, sending angel. 2 angels were sent to Lot people, and they put their whole valley upside down. Destroyed them. 43, God made them appear in your dreams, O Muhammad, fewer in number. Had he made them appear numerous, you would have failed and would have disputed among yourselves. But God saved the situation. He knows. He's knower of the innermost thoughts. And when the time came, you faced them. He made them appear few in your eyes. He made appear few in their eyes as well. For God will to carry out a certain plan. All decisions are made by God. Praise be to God. God controls everything. So for a reason to make the situation fewer in number, as we can understand. Otherwise, their will to do the fight will be depressed, and they will not be able to, when the situation was made easy. If you really sum it in an easy word, and if you try to understand, we're gonna win. In a similar way, as a believer in God, today's world, somebody believes in God, makes everything easy for that person. Not only just God makes it easy, it's our understanding, mashallah, praise God. We look at the situation very differently. A believer in God looks at the hereafter. Everything is calculated. He calculates everything every day by the formula of the hereafter. What am I looking for the hereafter? Like an investor who invests in the stock market and other stuff is always looking for, what is he looking for? What is the outcome? What I'm going to get out of it. That's their focus on it. How much? So a believer's investment with God is always looking for what is going to happen with me on the day of judgment. They're always looking at the day of judgment, the hereafter. What am I going to, when the day of judgment, when I'm standing before my Lord, what's going to happen to me? Oh, this person made me mad. Okay, wait a minute. Before I react, let's just take a second. Let's just take a second. What should a believer be reacting? Look, you know how we have Quran. We can, in our phones, we can just search it up quickly. Hush, and the word will come out. All of a sudden, it'll pull up. Okay, this is how I need to react. We remember most of it. How do we react in a certain situation? But if we don't understand and situation happens, before we react, let me look at my manual. How should the most gracious wants me to react? Oh, my Lord says the believers are expressive of the anger. So if I express my anger, I know you made me mad and I don't really care about any of that. What I care about is what my Creator wants. So my Creator wants me to express my anger. That's what's going to happen, sir. Your attempt to make me mad, to disobey my Lord, is not going to work today. I'm going to obey my God. Your attempt is not going to work today. In the same way, in 44, God says, He made them appear pure in both eyes as well, for a reason. God has a certain plan. We may be able to come to some understanding, but this is God's plan. So what? Sometimes I think about it. There's a lot of things that in the Quran God wants us to do a certain way. If we can understand, it's good, but we do it. As my Lord knows, I can never even understand 0.001% what my God is thinking. So I trust in God. You know how we are reading the verses from the previous best supporter, best Lord, best master. I trust my Lord. That's it. I put my full trust in God. He has a certain plan, and all decisions are made by God. You sit in an airplane, you put your full trust in the captain. Whatever he's doing in a certain situation, is turbulence and whatever, you trust. This guy is expert. He knows what he's doing. He's going to get us out of the situation best possible way. God is our Lord and Master. He's running everything. It's absurd not even to consider even 0.01% that my Lord will not support me. It will be like, we just put our full trust. We hear and we obey, sir. That's it. We don't want to ask a question. We don't want to ask a question. We hear and we obey. And our life becomes paradise in this world. 45. Or you believe and you encounter an army, you shall hold fast and commemorate God frequently, that you may succeed. Or you believe. I just talked about, the word believe in the previous verse, and I just talked about, you will do this if you believe in God. So, you who believe. And it's mentioned many places in the Quran. God is not talking to everybody. God is not talking to the disbelievers. Some places God says, children of Adam. Now that includes everybody. But here, whenever you see or you believe, you will do this if you believe in God. Because if you don't do it, then you don't believe in God. That's going down the drain. The wrong path. I mean, slowly, I don't know how a path happens, but this is. So when you encounter him, you should hold fast and commemorate God, and frequently, that you may succeed. And even in this world, today's world, they were even told during the war, you should do that, commemorate God frequently, that you may succeed. So in today's world, we should zikran kasira, the word that use remember or God frequently in this world. So we have to make it anything that we can. Like in the world, we have signs. We put some band on our hand or something that will remind us. Like a footnote, like a notebook or whatever, post note to remind us something. How many times we put alarm to remind me. We put in a calendar, we write down a certain day I need to do this. This is a reminder. So this is a very important reminder in our life. If somebody were to ask you, give me the formula of success, commemorate God frequently. Remembering, thinking, commemorating, having God involved in everything, down to even eating food. Not just eat food, think about where it came from. We are meditating basically. We're thinking about God. We're appreciating the process when you eat meat or food or vegetables, how it started. Germinate seed from the ground and the sun, the water, and all the steps. Then that God given us a taste. But the food is a source of our, nutrition, our energy, right? To the point that God made that as entertaining for us when we eat food. Imagine if we didn't have any taste buds. Sometime when we get sick and our taste buds are gone for a while, that is the time to ponder. Everything tastes like one thing, and we don't have any taste. This is the time to humble down, my Lord. When something is taken away, that's the time to humble down. God made that part even enjoyable for us. When we go to parties, when we go to something, go to a restaurant, what are we looking for? The taste. Did you try that? It's so good. Are we appreciative? So, the formula of success, commemorate God. You shall obey God and His messenger and do not dispute among yourselves, lest you fail and scatter your strength. You shall steadfastly persevere. God is with those who steadfastly persevere. You shall obey God and messenger. We have talked about many times. God and messenger is one. God sends a messenger with a message. That's all. He's a human being. He's given something important information. Take it and give it to them. He's not going to change anything. So basically, when you're listening, once you verify this is a messenger of God, there's a process of that, and then whatever he's telling you is from God. He's not saying. It's like he has something recorded on this. Sir, I am the messenger of God. This is the message. Take it. I have nothing to do with it. So if you reject messenger in that sense, we are rejecting the messenger, not the messenger. We are rejecting the God. And do not dispute among yourself. You shall obey God. Then you become a believer. Believe in righteous life in one sense. Dispute among yourself, lest you fail and scatter. Because if you don't do that, and you're going to lose your stand, because this is a time of war. And steadfastly persevere. God is with those who steadfastly persevere. Do not be like those who left their homes grudgingly, only to show off. In fact, discouraged others from following the path of God. God is fully aware of everything they do. So God is giving them even an example that do not be like those who left their homes grudgingly. They were hesitant. They had doubts. They had, all these things along the line. So when we really have that level of belief and faith, where we know that our God is our best supporter, master, and you don't care about it, you're strong. But when we lack all those things, so God is telling us, these people don't be like those because they lack all those things. What they should have done is work on their faith with God's help. And these are only doing. They don't want to come out happily, but they're do for what? Not for God, to show off. That's a very dangerous thing. When we do anything we do in religion is to show off, then that's where we're entering a dangerous territory. We're only doing for God. In fact, to discourage other people from following the path of God. God is fully aware of everything. I mean, their works is not going to be unnoticed. Whatever they're doing, God knows in our innermost thoughts. So God is saying, don't be like those. You come out with open heart. We're doing it because we hear it and we obey. You're doing this because you love God. You're putting full trust in God. You don't care about what people says. And showing off factor will come up. This is another ability that we have, to show off. All the things that talked about, jealousy, the embarrassment, and all those things, the senses. This is one of the sense to show off. We have to suppress all those feelings whenever that comes up, and find means with God's help to fight those things, to work against it. 48. The devil sees God's invisible soldier, the devil, and had adorned their works in their eyes, and said, you cannot be defeated by any people today, and I will be fighting along with you. But as soon as the two armies faced each other, he turned back on his heels and fled, saying, I disown you. I see what you do not see. I'm afraid of God. God's retribution is awesome. I mean, devils. I mean, I don't understand one part. This is where we have to really sit down and take the word of God very seriously, because Satan, the devil has adorned their works in their eyes. Because once you disbelieve, that's where Satan takes over. If you believe, that's where God takes over. So you have a remote control, right? When you control something. So we have a remote control that we have it, and we choose to give it to God or we choose to give it to Satan. When Satan takes over, then he will, okay, I get to play now. Satan is, I get to control this human being. God, he'd give it to me. I'm giving you a simple and allegorical way, inshallah. And then he will make their work say, like, oh my God, this is so good. This is the best. So, in general term, and here, when armies were going, the disbelievers people were going, supported by Satan. The believers community was coming, supported by God. So what does Satan do? Oh, you're gonna win today, this and that. God supported the believers with angels. So when they saw, as soon as he faced the army, he turned back and fled. I disown you because I see what you do not see. And he's afraid of God and God's retribution. So this part I don't understand. This sheds so much light in the system of God, the system of reality. This sheds so much light. We need to be really shocked by this ending part. Because he says, I see what you do not see. So these people, they cannot see, but they have information and everything. They have their own logics and everything. But he sees the reality. But what happened? He says, I'm afraid of God. Then what happened? I see God, he didn't understand all these things. He sees, he's afraid of God, and he's afraid of retribution. But the question is, why would you do something? What you're doing, that's leading you to hell anyway. God has issued his judgment on the Quran. God says that, a statement in the Quran, God says that, I'm paraphrasing, those who follow you, I mean Satan talking about, you and those who follow you. Satan and those who follow Satan are destined for hell. So once you know that verse is written in the Quran, for your own sake, why would you? So this is where the ego, and when he rejected to obey God in the first place, this is how bad. I'm talking about the senses, and again I'm talking about hatred, jealousy, and all those things. Ego is one of probably the leader of those negative feelings. Ego is the leader you can probably think about in your head of all the negative. That's like sitting on it. And if you feed the ego, then everything goes wrong way, because this becomes so strong. You have to suppress our ego, remove it from our head, fight it as much as we can with ego, because that can blind us so badly that even if you see the reality, even Satan cannot go. I don't understand why would not some to this stage, how bad the ego can be, that even in this stage you don't want to try to make a U-turn, you don't want to repent. That's why as a human being we need to really think about all these things. Then 49, the hypocrites and those who harbor doubt in their hearts say these people are deceived by their religion. However, if one puts his trust in God, then God is Almighty, most wise. So the hypocrites and those who harbor doubts in their heart, these are the people deceived by their religion. They're deceived because they disbelieve, and they have a religion, but they're deceived by that because they're hypocrite and they harbor doubts. So we need to work on our doubts, remove all doubts about the religion, and put full trust in God. If one put full trust in God, and God is Almighty, most right. This is where God has distinguished two different situations. If somebody is a hypocrite or have harbor doubts, and they're going to be deceived by the religion. We just talked about the Satan, right? They're going to go that path. But if one puts in trust in God, God is Almighty, most wise. So how God is, we talked about shifting from good pile of bad from good. See, everything is connecting. I think God is shifting away. How God is shifting away. We are the one making decision, and this is where things starts to happen. And God willing, I'll finish at 50. I'll go up to 52 because this is where this topic, the next heading is, if you could see those who disbelieve when the angels put them to death, they will beat them on their faces, and their rear ends taste the retribution of hell. So if we can only see those who disbelieve the time of death, obviously we don't, when you see somebody in ICU or if any of our friend or loved one is dying, we don't see the reality. There's another dimension where the reality exists. What's exactly happening with their soul? They're being beaten on their faces. I mean, just think about the humiliation. We talk about the humiliation in the hereafter, the pile going from the battle, all those stuffs. The pain and suffering, because that person is holding down to his soul, doesn't want to let go, because this person knows the reality. It's not good. A good person, a believer in God who will live a righteous life, and the angel comes in a very beautiful form and they invite this person to go. This person immediately, yes, like one of the example that I think Messenger of the Covenant says that you just made some breakfast and hot coffee and angels showed up. Sir, it's time to go. You want to finish your hot meal? And the believer would say, forget about it, let's go. He's happily going. And they don't go through the death process. Only disbelieve, they die. They just move from one dimension to the other. So, but God is saying, if you could only see, what is the imagination? Imagine somebody went to the war and have seen some horrible images, and this person has no way to explain it to somebody what he's seen. Or somebody went to a beautiful place, a beautiful paradise, or maybe, good vacation, and has no words to explain. Many times we say, I don't have words to explain. Only if you can have seen it. So yes, God is saying, if you can only see, it will shake our soul so badly. Have you ever seen somebody who's suffering with something and how we become so shaky inside? If we can only see, we would be running away. We will be really, really, really running for our life. If we can only see a person who disbelieves being put to death, we would be like running, we would be sprinting for our life. I don't want to be in this situation. I have seen a disbeliever being put to death. You have no idea. In one way, God is exactly showing us, if you think about it, the most gracious, the more we understand God is Almighty, most wise, God is the best supporter, and all those things. When you fully trust in God, when God says something, you stand up. When you have when you remember God, when you meditate on God, when you learn about God's qualities and learn more and more and more, you're making the picture so strong. When that entity says something, you stand up. If you can only, oh my God, did he say that? I mean, think about somebody you trust so much in this world. That person says something, you go crazy. If somebody, like, if a doctor tells someone something, that person is gonna stand up. What are you saying, sir? Because this person knows. He knows that doctor knows. He looks at his report and says, "I have a bad news for you." The person will like go insane. What are you talking about, doctor? Tell me what it is. What are you talking about? Because this person trusts the doctor, right? What does it say? Think about it. If you can only see. My God, did God really say that? Wait a minute, let me read into it. Did God say, if you could only see? What? It must be really, really horrible. We would be like, in a nutshell, we don't see it, but in a nutshell, if you really, that's why when you follow God's word, when you follow, this book is fully detailed and complete. Praise be to God. It opens your eyes. A lot of things are mentioned here that a normal person will not be able to see. This person has so much knowledge, wisdom, a vivid picture of a situation in this verse, along with the whole Quran. Praise be to God. You can literally see you have an analogy and an allegorical, but you have the understanding what's being happened. And the picture is not pretty. Just like the person who the doctor tells that person hasn't gone through that situation yet. He may not even understand the disease, what this doctor is about to tell him. But when the doctor says you have a bad news, he doesn't even know. The doctor says you have osteomyelitis or whatever, something, anything, something has to do with the cancer or whatever. He doesn't even know what does it mean. All the word, the thing he is paying attention to, the doctor's words are, you have a bad news. That's it. Even after explaining by the doctor, he still doesn't know the disease process, but he knows that's a bad. What is the most question? If you could only see. We don't need to understand the situation. All we need to do is, if you could only see, you have a bad news. If you can only see, you have a bad news. Just try to and use the analogy. This is really bad. That's why 51. I've read a lot of notes, but if I talk, this is gonna take hours. So I'm trying to cut short to catch up with our Urdu Quran studies, stay on the same page. 51. This is the consequences of what your hands have set forth. God is never unjust towards his creatures, and it's not because of God is, doing this to them. This is the consequences. We know that the angels are beating them is the way they're taking even this beginning part of their spiritual life. In this world, they have suffered because if we don't believe in God, if we do our life the way we want, we're gonna suffer because we think this is best. We think this is best. We just talked about those disbelievers who come to fight. They took an action which was controlled by God, which they suffered. So when we disbelieve in God, this is the time of death, okay? And from here, your spiritual life continues. Before that, when we disbelieve, all those actions we are doing it. We thought this was best. We thought everything, because it's when a person who believes, time of death here, he puts his trust in God. He knows God is running everything. He does whatever God gives his body no control. He controlling this body according to what God says. So he lives his life beautifully, right, up to his death. And the angel comes, they invite him to this. They don't die. Actually, this thing, the X mark death, doesn't exist. They just continue to live. And they're in hell, in paradise, sorry. That's who the disbelievers are. So they're taking decisions, but the decisions are because of their consequences. And that's why when this stuff is happening, this is the consequence. The previous verse connected to this, the beating, the time of death, is along with that. Many times in the hospital, I've done it many times, and they're code blue, and somebody's in a very serious situation. I've looked around in the room, and I had the feeling, like I'm talking to the angel of death. I know you are here. I don't know if this person is going to be able to save or not, or anybody who is dying. Mashallah, many times I have a sense that I know you are here. Someday you will come for me too. I know you're here. If I know if the person is dying, like a DNR, do not resuscitate person, there where you do not. If the family chooses to let the person go without any major medical intervention, no CPR, no chest compressions and defib or whatever, no injections. If the person is dying, let them go. So if the person is dying, I've seen so many times the DNR person is slowly passing away, the hospice situation, and know that the angels are present. And the angels are present all the time. We have 2 guardian angels with us, praise God. And we should have that sense. We should remember our death. Whenever we see somebody passing away, we should remember our death. Someday it's my turn. Someday it's going to be my turn. I don't know. I don't know how this person is being treated with the angels right now. Is he being beaten, or he's being invited? I've seen so many, like where one time this person passed away, and I don't know if it's a good person or not, but I've seen the hallway lit up like daytime in the middle of the night. You see so many signs from God. I've seen, so praise be to God. In 52. This is the same fate as that of Pharaoh's people and those who disbelieved before them. They rejected God's revelation, and God punished them for their sins. God is powerful, and his retribution is severe. And that's the same fate. To be honest with you. Same fate. So, okay, it's talking about these communities. This is the timeline on earth for human beings. God's telling their fate is same as the people before them, and like, for example, we are here today, and same for us, and same for until the day of judgment. It's the same fate. It's not gonna change. The same fate for these people. We do the same fate for us. Same fate for the people coming, the next generations. It's the same fate. You cannot expect a different result by repeating the same thing, especially in God's system. Absolutely not. They rejected God's revelation. When we reject God's revelation, when we say, "Sir, excuse me, sir, wait a minute, sir, your book is not complete." Raise your hand. I raise my hand. God, I'm so sorry, your book is not complete. Rejected God's revelation. It's insulting God in a way, as you think about it. I mean, you think about in the world, and an army commander gives an order, and if one objects, he's insulting the commanders. Wisdom, knowledge, understanding. You say, you mean to say you know better than me? He will be offended, right? We're talking about the most gracious. So when we reject, we put question mark, we put our input into it, sir. Like there's a verse in the Quran. Let me see. There's a verse in the Quran, okay? It says fully dead. Sir, I reject it. I think you're wrong. I think this source is better. This another source is better. I'm going to go to that source. I'm going to add that into your religion. I'm going to use that source into your religion. That verse. Your verse is not complete, sir. You say, do the contract prayer. It doesn't say, so I reject. I'm going to use that and inject into this For example, wudu also. I don't think this is, I'm going to add all these things and inject it in your verse. So like the verse that says wudu is 4 steps. No, sir. We're going to add 8 more verses, 8 more steps, making it 12. Some say, no, we're going to add 9 more and make it 13. Somebody can, no, I'm going to add 10 and make it 14, or so on. Or no, sir, they rejected God's revelation and God punished them, their sins. And the reason people say is because, we rinse our mouth because we're going to be standing next to somebody else in the congregational prayer. We don't want our mouth to smell bad. That's one of the reasons for one step. The reason we rinse our mouth is not mentioned in the step wudu, just wash your face. We're not rinsing our nose, we're not cleaning or brushing our teeth, or washing is just like take water, wash your face, soap, and then rinse it, right? This is how to wash. A child learns these in the very early stages, right? So the objection, they say that rinse our mouth, I said, okay, fine, I'll take that. Today, you're going to do Isha prayer and you're doing it by yourself. There's nobody around you, right? So let's take this step out of it. This person was doing 13 steps. Let's don't do that and just do other 12 steps. Because the reason that you gave me, because the only reason you're rinsing your mouth is because you're going to stand next to somebody. So just start your wudu. We used to do, we wash our hand, we rinse our mouth, right? I said, just go with the nose. Couldn't do it. So, I do, we can do a lot of steps, but outside of the wudu practice, I even sometimes brush my teeth, but that's after or before or after the wudu. Of course, you come in, you turn on the light, you turn on the faucet. These are not steps. Wash my hand with soap. Maybe I was working. Then I go into the wudu state of wuzu. When the water is warm or whatever, how the situation is, you said, Nawaitul wudu, bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and then you wash your face. So, and then after washing feet, then I want to do something else I can do afterwards. So, just to give you a little, rejecting the revelation of God and punish them for their sins. God is powerful and his retribution is severe. Even Satan admits to that his retribution is severe. His retribution is severe. He knows that. Praise be to God. So I'll end it at 52, and next year, God willing, I'll start from 53.